Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Viṣṇupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtatarashata Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Viṣṇupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtatarashata Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Kapurapana Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Seventh Canto, Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings, Text 71. Ekada Deva Satre Tu Gandharvapsurasam Ganaha Upahuta Vishva Sigbir Hari Gatopa Gayane Ekada Deva Satre Tu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gata Pagayane
Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane
Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane
Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane
Ekada Deva Satretu Gandharvapsarasam ganaha Upahuta Vishwasrigbir Hari Gato Pagayane
Ekada. Once upon a time, Deva Satre in an assembly of the demigods. Two, indeed, Gandharva, of the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka, Apsarasam, and the inhabitants of Apsara Loka, Ganaha, all, Upahutaha, were invited. Vishwasrigbir, by the great demigods known as the Prajapatis. Hadigata Upagayane, on an occasion of kirtan, for glorifying the Supreme Lord. Translation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Once there was a Sankirtan festival to glorify the Supreme Lord in an assembly of the demigods, and the Gandharvas and Apsaras were invited by the Prajapatis to take part in it. Purport. Sankirtan means chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The Hare Krishna movement is not a new movement, as people sometimes mistakenly think. The Hare Krishna movement is present in every millennium of Lord Brahma's life, and the holy name is chanted in all of the higher planetary systems, including Brahmaloka and Chandraloka, not to speak of Gandharva Loka and Apsara Loka. The Sankirtan movement that was started in this world 500 years ago by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is therefore not a new movement. Sometimes, because of our bad luck, this movement is stopped. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants again start the movement for the benefit of the entire. It says, I don't know if yours says world or word. Mine says word. Again, start the movement for the benefit of the entire world, or indeed the entire universe. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulam Baditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kartivachalam Panglam Angayate Grim Yat Kripadamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditarinam Vanchakapati Vishcha Kripasindabe Vichapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation. Again, once there was a Sankirtan festival to glorify the Supreme Lord, and an assembly of the demigods and the Gandharvas and Apsaras were invited by the Prajapatis to take part in it. So Narada Muni is describing his life before the son of a maidservant. So going back a couple lives here. And as we were discussing the other day, how Narada Muni was telling Vyasadeva, his disciple, about his past life, the son of a maidservant. So we went over that. So here Narada Muni is describing to Yudhishthira Maharaj his life before the son of a maidservant as a Gandharva known as Upabarhana. So it started yesterday, and how he mentioned in another Mahakalpa he existed as a Gandharva known as Upabarhana, and he was very respected by the other Gandharvas, who are known for their singing abilities. That's one of the main things they're known for. And he describes in yesterday's verse how he had a beautiful face and a pleasing, attractive bodily structure, decorated with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. I was most pleasing to the women of my city. Thus I was bewildered, always feeling lusty desires. So, as Upabarhana, he was existing on Gandharva Loka, and he was singing, and he was very beautiful, and in this way he was, as he explains, he was bewildered by lusty desires, by material desires. He was engaging in kirtan for the wrong reasons. And then today in this verse he says that once there was a Sankirtan festival to glorify Krishna, an assembly of the demigods and the Gandharvas and Apsaras were invited by the Prajapatis to take part in it. So they had a kirtan festival. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport how the Hare Krishna movement is not a new movement. It's been going on for a very long time, even on other planets. It's not a new movement as mistakenly thought by people, especially when the movement came to America, as Srila Prabhupada first brought it to America. People were very surprised. People were very bewildered. What is this? Is this another new movement? Or specifically, they were thinking it was a cult. Is this some type of weird cult? So they didn't really have any understanding of the philosophical background of the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, or that it's a movement that's been going on for thousands of years, at least traditionally speaking, coming from India. They just thought that my young son or my young daughter has joined some weird movement, and he used to have long, beautiful hair, and he's cut off his long, beautiful hair, Prabhupada said hairs, and shaved his head, and has this tuft back there, and he's put on paint on his face, and he's put on these, as they would think them, like orange bed sheets, and he's out there dancing on the streets, collecting money for the guru or something. So it was very bewildering to many of them. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, he would meet with all of these scholars of from different places and professors, and he would collect their comments, or disciples would collect their comments to prove the authenticity of the Hare Krishna movement. That gave great. Those quotes would give a lot of credibility in people's minds. Oh, they're quotes from professors, right? And still, a lot of people, they wouldn't really have a clear idea, or they would still think it was a cult. But there were a number of parents and a number of people who recognized the authenticity of the Hare Krishna movement and would praise Srila Prabhupada for it. That you saved my son, you saved my daughter. They would be out doing so many nonsense things, engaging in sinful activity. But now they are dedicating their life to loving God. So it's a wonderful thing you've done. So there's many parents who thought like that as well. But yeah, it's definitely not a new movement, and it goes very far back, practically inconceivably far back in time. It's happened on other planets as well, as described in this purport. But as Srila Prabhupada says, sometimes due to our bad luck, this movement is stopped. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his servants again start the movement for the benefit of the entire world, or indeed the entire universe. So we see that in the times of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there was Vaishnavism was covered. It was covered in the sense that a bunch of people who claimed to be Vaishnavas, so-called Vaishnavas, they first of all misinterpreted the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then they started their own movements. But they're all saying, I'm a follower of Lord Chaitanya. I'm a follower of Lord Chaitanya. I'm a follower of Lord Chaitanya. You have these, what are they called? The 12 groups? But what are the, upper sampradaya is the deviant groups. You have the Saki Bakis. Anyone remember what those are? They dress as women. The men dress as women, like gopis, and then Saidiyas, that they're attracting Krishna. You still see it when you go to India sometimes. So you have Saki Bakis, and you have the Chudadaris, and you have anyways, it's a whole bunch of groups you have. And they all have their unique form of deviation. Practically all of them have the same thing in common, is that they don't follow they don't have much reverence, they don't have any reverence practically for the scripture. It means they don't hear it, they don't read it, that's not important. The important thing is just the devotion. And they don't follow any moral principles, practically. Like Vaishnavas are supposed to follow, certain moral principles. They don't follow anything. They just reject all the rules and regulations, reject the scripture, and they just, love Krishna. So when people would think of Vaishnavas at the time, they think, oh, these are just these social rejects who are absolutely immoral, and we don't want anything to do with them. It was in a very deplorable state. covered. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he found the Chaitanya Charitamrita after much endeavor, and he reestablished or resurrected Vaishnavism. He wrote so many books, so many songs, and started so many preaching programs, and prayed for a ray of Viṣṇu, which came in the form of his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who then went on to start a movement all over India, Gaudiya Math, with thousands of disciples, and he had 18 sannyasis. And they were, an absolute amazing, powerful movement. So sometimes it's covered, and sometimes, like Srila Prabhu says, or because of our bad luck, the movement is stopped. But then again, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and the mercy of his servants, it started again. So I'll just read the next verse because it's very much connected. This is 72. Narada Muni continued, being invited to that festival, I also joined, and, surrounded by women, I began musically singing the glories of the demigods. Because of this, the Prajapatis, the great demigods in charge of the affairs of the universe, forcefully cursed me with these words. Because you have committed an offense, may you immediately become a Shudra devoid of beauty. Purport. As far as kirtan is concerned, the Shastras say, Śravaṇaṁ kīrtanaṁ viṣṇoḥ. One should chant the glories of the Supreme Lord and the holy name of the Supreme Lord. This is clearly stated, Śravaṇaṁ kīrtanaṁ viṣṇoḥ. One should chant about and glorify Lord Viṣṇu, not any demigod. Unfortunately, there are foolish persons who invent some process of kirtan on the basis of a demigod's name. This is an offense. Kirtan means glorifying the Supreme Lord, not any demigod. Sometimes people invent Kali Kirtan or Shiva Kirtan, and even big sannyasis in the Mayavad school say that one may chant any name and still get the same result. But here we find that millions and millions of years ago, when Narada Muni was a Gandharva, he neglected the order to glorify the Lord, and being mad in the association of women, he began to chant otherwise. Thus he was cursed to become a Shudra. His first offense was that he went to join the Sankirtan party in the company of lusty women. And another offense was that he considered ordinary songs like cinema songs and other such songs to be equal to Sankirtan. For this offense, he was punished with becoming a Shudra. So in the next verse, which we're not going to go into, talks about his son, his life as the son of a maidservant, some more. So Narada Muni, he's speaking with Yudhishthira Maharaj and how he went to a festival, Sankirtan festival, Kirtan Mela, Ki Jai, and was surrounded by women, and he was very musically singing, and he started glorifying the demigods. And because of this, he was cursed. May he become a Shudra devoid of all beauty. So, in the purport, interesting, Srila Prabhupada brings up that Śravaṇaṁ kīrtanaṁ viṣṇoḥ, that we should hear and chant about Krishna. And unfortunately, people, they manufacture mantras in which other kirtans are introduced, Kali Kirtan, Shiva Kirtan. And they say, you just chant this and you get the same result. And it's interesting because kirtan has entered the Western world. Of course, Srila Prabhupada brought the kirtan. But nowadays it's very common, all of these yoga studios throughout Southern California, many of them have kirtans. And it's interesting, they sing so many things. They sing to Durga, they sing to Shiva, they sing so many different types of kirtans. You would think that maybe for some Americans it would be strange to even consider just engaging in Krishna kirtan. Maybe that's kind of enough, But then they expand it to so many other kirtans. And sometimes devotees do this as well. It happens that devotees, they engage in demigod kirtan. Now, what would be the issue with that? Does anyone want to say? Is there an issue with that? What's wrong? Because someone may say, "Hey, it's for preaching purposes." I fill up the room, I fill up the auditorium, I fill up the stadium. We got a lot of people coming. Yes, we chant a little Shiva, or we chant a few other things, but mostly we're chanting Hare Krishna. But we're getting people in the door, and okay, maybe you could say Prabhupada didn't do that, but at times, it's after all, it's 50 years. 50 years ago, Srila Prabhupada established the Hare Krishna movement. So we need to adjust certain things. I mean, Srila Prabhupada, he adjusted certain things. Definitely, he adjusted certain things for preaching. So similarly, we're adjusting things for preaching. We want to introduce. We do not that we want to. We do introduce Shiva Kirtan. So. Does anyone see any problem, or is there any, or maybe everybody says it's okay? Does anybody? Javita Prabhu, okay.
If you start introducing things that are not supported by Shastra and Guru, then you get into trouble. And you don't get the desired result. That's the problem.
Okay.
We don't really need to shut this off.
I know, I'm
It's
sorry.
a waste of time.
I didn't know you were going to.
Not to worry. Nobody else got anything to say?
Hare Krishna. If you don't water the root, the tree will die. If you're just watering the branches.
Well, we say we water the root a little bit, Hare Krishna, but the branches, they get a little water. Mostly we're watering the root. Anyways, Ramapati yet?
It says it's also offensive to people as demigods and Krishna at the same level.
It's just for preaching.
But he's asking why. He's saying it brings people in the door.
Yeah, it's for preaching. It's for preaching. We're not, as a kirtan leader, I'm not equating Lord Shiva and Viṣṇu or Krishna. I'm not doing that at all. It's just purely for preaching. I know who's who, I know what's what, but it's just bringing people in the door. We're filling up this place, and we chant a little Shiva, but mostly we're chanting Hare Krishna. So in this way we're preaching.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of a redeeming feature. Do you, just like Dharma Setu, you can have two different types of people doing a wedding. You can get a priest from Temple X,
Yeah.
and they'll do all the pujas properly and everything. But they don't explain anything, or they just give the mundane explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And people walk out the door with no understanding or the wrong understanding. And I know that there are temples, we've done it here sometimes, that will have some function on the appearance day of Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
So my question is, and at that point in time, we'll explain all about Lord Shiva, and we'll explain all about the demigods, and we'll explain, so they walk out with the right instruction.
Yeah.
So are you throwing a little Shiva? I'm not advocating for it. I'm just trying to get the full picture of your question. Are we throw in a little Shiva, and then when you're here, you explain everything? So when they walk out the door, they think, oh, I never knew that Lord Shiva is the greatest servant of Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
So what's the impression when they walk out? There's a great risk that they won't walk out with the right impression, and you're misleading people.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're aiming.
It seems in a lot of cases when devotees, whatever, it's in the purpose we're talking about it, but it seems in a lot of cases, there's not a lot of explanation. It's just, this is, something we're doing. I mean, there might be, okay, Shiva's the greatest devotee, something like that, but anyways, one thing is that what's difficult about it is that once people become, let's say you do fill up rooms, you do get people starting to practice Krishna consciousness, and then when they become devotees, you have to tell them, actually, this is not good, and you should give it up. But part of that, them taking to Krishna consciousness was, you doing that, you introducing that chanting of Shiva. So, anyways, does anybody have any other thoughts? Yes. Bhajan Ryan Swami, then Mahabharat.
I got something to say too.
Yeah.
There's also we want to get them in the door, and there's time, place, and circumstance, but you wear Western clothes, you play Western instruments, you talk all about yoga, and you never say Krishna's name. You say the Supreme, or you say the Absolute, and so it's like you're waiting, if as a neutral person or a Vaishnava, you're waiting for them to turn the corner and bring them around to pure Krishna consciousness, but they never turn the corner. And people get misled, they get attached to that.
Yeah.
So we've seen that many, many times, that you just leave them out in nowhere, and they like that.
Yeah.
So, and I just
Thank you.
Here's from Mahabharata.
He's got a mic.
Oh, he's got one?
Oh, Hari Om.
It's a big hassle when they have. Why would we just save the battery? Is that why we turn it on?
Sometimes it echoes.
Oh, okay. So there's a reason.
Anyway, being that Krishna is the all-attractive, I don't see why we need to introduce Shiva or something
Very
like
good.
that. Right? See, I mean, what's the lack of faith that Krishna is the most attractive?
Very good.
Right? And then we can attract people. If we don't have faith in that, and we think that we need other means to attract people, sometimes it's necessary, but as Maharaj was just mentioning, many people, they just go so far, and at the end, they don't become devotees. Many times we get influenced by their ideas, like the yoga studios, and things like that. But what is the lack of faith that Krishna is the all-attractive? Why don't we present Krishna as the all-attractive? And we have full faith in that. And then we preach from that point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Mayavadi, like Srila Prabhupada mentions, the Mayavadis, they introduce all types of kirtans. And then you can say, hey, well, these people who are coming from Mayavad backgrounds, we also, as devotees, we want to present a little different types of kirtans, except from, we want to present some demigod kirtans as well. These people are used to it, so we should present the same things, but mostly we're presenting the Hare Krishna mantra. So maybe there's an idea of wanting to fit in or be like others, or whatever the particular idea is. I don't fully understand, but this is a great point you made. Why not just, Krishna is all most attractive, why not just present the Hare Krishna mantra? And if you analyze the matter very carefully, whether you go to a big Mayavadi kirtan, which we don't advise, or whether you go to a devotee kirtan, which I guess sometimes they may chant Shiva Shiva or something, but the fact is, whenever the Hare Krishna mantra happens, whenever it's chanted, everybody goes into ecstasy. We don't see that with other mantras so much. definitely not in comparison with the Hare Krishna mantra. Like, for example, at the Bhakti Fest, happens here at Joshua Tree, huge event, hundreds and hundreds of people go, maybe thousands, and they have a bunch of kirtan there, and this and that, all different Bhakti Fest, yeah, it's been going on for some years. A bunch of kirtan, and at the very end, what do they chant? Hare Krishna. They chant so many kirtans, but at the very end they chant Hare Krishna, and everybody's dancing and.
Even on Friday we were doing the yoga studio. We went a few times.
Yeah.
They chant all kinds of mantras, and at the end we chant Hare Krishna. They're all dancing.
Yes. So that has a special power. So yeah, it's a great point. No need to introduce it. So yeah, but Narada Muni in his past life as Upabarhana, he introduced it. It was a time, it was a place meant to glorify Krishna, and then he introduced this demigod kirtan, and then he was cursed to become the son of a maidservant, cursed to be a Shudra. We'll hear about that more. Of course, it's a Upabarhana, and then the son of a maidservant, and then he became Narada Muni. But we're hearing some of his past lives. Very interesting section in the Bhagavatam. All right, does anybody have any question or comment? Any online question or comment? Okay. All right. I guess we could stop there. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.